today we have Kelvin Liu again with us. I think it has been quite some time since we last chat. Actually, I saw on the Slido, someone asked questions and then some viewers miss you. So just want to hear your voice and hear your opinions on the development, especially on Tesla. I'll start off just asking some casual questions first. I know that you have finished up your renovations, your Tesla Model Y delivery, everything's done, everything all set up, right? So how was it so far?
I just got the Model Y, I think about 3 weeks ago, so enjoying it. Still the new car syndrome, so everything is new, everything feels nice. Yeah, looking forward to drive more, and maybe hopefully when I have time, I'll come down to Singapore to meet most of you guys.
Wow, looking forward to that. The Model Y, like the delivery process, right? Everything compared to normal cars, right? Is it very different, the experience-wise?
In Malaysia, this is my first car in Malaysia, so I have no other comparisons, but my wife did buy a car before here. So yeah, it's totally different. For the other cars, usually you leave everything to be done by the salesperson and the dealership. You just need to make sure you do your payments and provide the documents that are needed, and the bankers or the dealer will then either go to you or set up an appointment that is convenient for you to sign all the documents. And you don't even need to worry about getting the car registered or checking if there is a delay in registration and all those. So if you put it into contrast with what Tesla is doing in Malaysia, so there's a lot of DIY steps that need to be done. But of course, the Tesla app helps a lot for us to check on the status. So the first thing that I got was the VIN number assigned. So when I ordered on the 14th of July, last year. 14th of July. But not lunar calendar, not the lunar calendar. But anyway, I ordered on 14th of July, and then it was just a waiting. You just wait. They say it was going to come up. The delivery will be in the first quarter of this year, and unfortunately it really happened the end of the first quarter, so I couldn't get it before Chinese New Year. But anyway, the VIN, it got the VIN number, like a serial number, only late January, something like that, late January. Then it's also again waiting. Then delivery advisor from Tesla will then contact us or to tell us what to do next. So I have to go and contact the bank myself, get the thing signed, bid for my number plate, and then buy insurance. So collect everything, all the documents, and then send to Tesla and just wait. Then they gave me a delivery and do the final payment, the down payment. About 1 week before the delivery date, then they set an appointment, and then I got the car.
How's the experience so far? Like, because I think that you drove a few times before, right? That's your only experience driving, right? So after owning the car, drive it for some time, and any surprise or anything new that want to share with us?
Well, one thing definitely different is the performance, because I got a performance model. So I have not driven a performance Tesla before. Previous ones I've driven was I've driven a Model 3 performance, but it was my friend's one, so I couldn't use all the power. So
be gentle.
Yeah, I mean, it's also we were testing on a busy street, so it's not safe, not prudent to do that. But anyway, the performance was really caught me by surprise. In a good way. It's actually quite scary the first few times. Yeah, it's actually scary. But you get used to it and you welcome it. Whenever you need to overtake or do some exit from a dangerous situation, it's quite very welcome to have that kind of performance. And another difference I would say is maybe it's because of the tires, but because I drove the older Model Y long range, it was a bit less bumpy. But for my tires, maybe it's a bit too hard, but I get used to it. I got used to it.
So far, have you influenced anyone to follow your footsteps and go and buy Tesla cars?
For those who have, if they have not planned to buy, those that memang not planning to buy a Tesla car, I don't think I convinced anyone, but I did push. I think at least one person to make the order.
Okay.
At least one person.
But those are already that friend is already on the fence lah. It's like
it's more or less he's already set on buying a Tesla. It's just that when only. So
become advocate already. Go EV.
Use my referral.
and what do you get from that? Like some free
in Malaysia,
charging, right?
No. In Malaysia, so far only you get. I'm not sure. Is it 5,000 points?
Mm-hmm.
So 5,000 points is good for like 2 T-shirts, something like that.
Have you tested the new Model 3? Like, have you compared that
Yes.
car versus yours?
Yes. I've tested different the long range Model 3.
Yeah.
But of course, you cannot compare it because one is a sedan and one is a SUV, right? But I can really feel the difference in the performance and the overall quality compared to the older Model 3.
Just now, this morning, I tried. Not like I didn't drive lah. I just sit on the car, Darren's car. So it was quite different. I think there are few areas. Yeah, it's improved over the older models. Yeah, quite nice.
Yeah, if you have side by side, if you have tried it in a recent days, right? You can compare. There's really a big difference. My comparison was Model 3. I think I drove like 2 years ago, and the new one was few months ago. So although I couldn't feel a big difference, but the subtle differences you cannot feel, but there is a difference. You can know that there's a difference, especially in the way it rides. So the previous one was a bit bumpy, a bit not so refined, but the new one is very good, especially when you go on our roads, like in Malaysia. The roads, the bumpiness is really, it's way better in that sense. Then of course the interior has changed. It needs a different way of driving without the stops and everything. But overall, it's a good improvement. And then the noise, the lack of noise is a big improvement.
Yep.
The way the door closes is also a big improvement. When I compare it to my current Model Y, the current Model Y is quite you can feel that the quality is not as good as the new Model 3.
Okay, never mind. The one coming soon, the new versions. I heard will be in 1 or 2 years' time, right?
Yeah, then your turn to buy.
Not in Singapore. Can afford the car, cannot afford the COE.
Oh yeah.
That's
buy one. I take care for you in Malaysia.
Oh, so good lah. Okay. Actually, I was quite surprised with the time that you waited. It's like so long, right? Given that nowadays, I think in terms of their productions is a lot, like much better productions, unlike maybe like 2-3 years ago when they still have a lot of production issues, right? So and I also like observe that because they have ramped up their productions, and then I don't think the demand is like slowing down a lot. Like just that production is a lot higher. So now there are many chatter about like, okay, they have too much cars to sell, too much inventory to clear. That's why price keep on dropping, right? Actually, what's your take on this? Talking about the outlook over coming 1 or 2 years.
The delay in the Malaysian cars is, I think, not because of production. It's because they are trying to plan the delivery in such that because what I heard is that they are trying to coordinate the Model Y delivery in such a way that we get the hardware 4 in our cars. Because if they were to be too early, let's say in Q4 of 2023 or maybe a bit earlier, then we will get the hardware 3, and then the consumer or the Tesla buyers will feel not nice because early 2024 they will change to the hardware 4. So I think that plays a role because especially when they because and it's in our expectations, because when we click the order on July, it's stated already it's going to come only in 2024 first quarter. So our expectations were managed in that way, so it's still fine, right? It's just that we didn't expect it to be late Q1 and not early Q1, right? So maybe because of the hardware 4, because I heard that Tesla Malaysia, the regional director, Isabel, was making sure that we get the best deal out of it, so that we don't, because it's going to be bad publicity if you give the older cars to Malaysia, whereas in China you get the newer cars and so on. So that's the management of the expectations. And also, I mean, they launched the Model 3 in September and they could get the car already in November. So it's also one of the earliest in the region. So I think it's not because of production or because of Malaysia getting the short end of the stick. It's more because they want to manage it such that we get the best deal, and also to make sure that the first impression of the product in Malaysia is well managed.
Actually, you said hardware 4, right? What is different actually when you... Is it just the camera sensor or including like the chip, everything? What's included in this package?
I think the chip is also different. If I'm not mistaken, it's more energy efficient. But don't quote me on this because I didn't check. I'm not so sure. Because to me, I feel that it's almost the same. It's just that... But the main difference I can see is the cameras. So the cameras, the color is better. The previous one was like a bit like yellowish, and the resolution is a bit lower. So the new one that can directly affect me is the resolution of the camera. So, but for like autopilot or the responsiveness of the screen or what, I have nothing to compare. So I don't know. So that's the only thing I see. But of course, there may be different or more improvements inside. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Actually, I observed that the screen, right, that's showing when you drive, there's cars around, right, that screen, right. I observed that one versus the older one that I saw, right, it's a lot clearer. Like you can see the car, and not just the car. You know, I think the last time one, all the car looks like rounded. It's like just, you know, it is something there. It's just a car. Like the new one, you can tell what type of car it is, and it's quite clear. Like the shape of the car, everything is quite clear. I don't know that one is because of advancement in just the software part or really on the hardware together with the sensor. All these things helps. I also don't know all these details, but quite impressive. Looking at that entire things.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Then you need people who have different cars to compare.
Yeah. Those who look at all these details.
Who have used it before and now.
Yeah.
So to me, the because when I test drove cars, you have a very short period of time. And you are not going to spend too much time on comparing those. You are driving and you are testing the driving dynamics, right? So I did not put effort into looking into that comparison.
Yeah, it's okay. This is your first Tesla car. You will compare a lot, all the details when you get your newer Tesla car in the future.
I wait for yours.
Okay. Let's talk about the recent news about Tesla. First thing is that they said they are going to cancel the cheaper car, right? The 25 cars. I think we talked about this for quite some time because that was the pathway towards 20 million car productions, right? And then suddenly they said cancel, and then suddenly they talk about this Robotaxi will be announced 8th of August. Actually, when you follow all this news, what was your speculations or what was your expectation when it comes to this development?
To me, I think there's the overreaction from the media, or is actually a misunderstanding because to cancel a project like that, I don't think it's that easy. Firstly, because there are a lot of underserved markets that requires Tesla. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they go to the drastic measures of just cancelling it. But even if they do, I don't think it's because of a resource problem, because they have been all this while already having that program for making sure that there's a lower cost version of the product, and also on the manufacturing part. It's such a waste, or I would say it's just quite very, very weird move to totally cancel it and then say, oh, we're just going to do Robotaxi. I think the wording to it should be more or less like Elon Musk or the program manager will say that we want Robotaxi now as the lead of this program, instead of saying that we are not going to do Robotaxis. Okay, I'm sorry, we are not going to do the low cost car. Because you see, when you design or you develop a certain program, there are certain products where it will take a lead, which means the decision making, the resources, the factory space will drive the decisions more compared to the other products. So like, for example, like say BMW, right? The platform, let's say they do the 3 Series. The 3 Series is a very bestseller. But the same 3 Series platform has variants. So you have the estate version, the station wagon, right?
Yep.
And then you have maybe a 2-door version, you have the coupe, then you have the open top version, the convertible version. So it's all on the same program actually. It's just like a variant. But to drive decisions, you use the 3 Series 4-door sedan version.
Yep.
That means the parts, whatever the sedan version needs to make it better, we will use that first. And then only we decide if let's say the 2-door version needs a different part or whatever. So this is the decision driving which takes the lead, which
Yep.
product takes the lead. So I think for all this while, the lower cost, the next gen platform that they call it, right, has always been designed and developed based on the premise that there will be two variants. One that is for the Robotaxi and one is for the mass production for most of the markets in the world. So maybe all this while the mass produced version has been taking the lead, which means that it needs a steering wheel, it needs I don't know, a better battery or whatever, dual motors or whatever that is for that version, and also the manufacturability, where to produce, what suppliers to use, everything will be based on that to drive the decision forward. And Robotaxi is like a variant of that low cost version. So because once you have defined what is a steering wheel, where to put it and so on, it's as easy as, not easy, but you can take it out, right, to make it into a Robotaxi, and then you maybe use a different software or different entertainment system or whatever to drive that second vehicle based on the same platform. So what I think the management or the Elon Musk internally communicate is that from now onwards, we will use the Robotaxi as the main driver forward, maybe because they see that the FSD is becoming more viable and then there is more money to be made. So the decision-making process will be focused on Robotaxi, and then the compact or the next generation platform, the lower cost vehicle, will then follow whatever is being defined in the Robotaxi. Then you can do your own variants or whatever.
Yep.
So I think that is what they mean. So as usual, where like when you play a game of telephone, right? One person say this, the next person get that, and the next one, and then in the end, the reporter overheard some auntie, my kids say the next gen platform is cancelled, low cost platform is cancelled. Then things get out of hand. So I think that's the more realistic decision that they made, instead of just saying that, let's just cut it out. I mean, for headlines, it sounds nice, right? To say, Tesla is having trouble, they're cutting out. But well, I think that, in my opinion, from my experience in different programs before, usually that's the case. It's a very tough. It's actually a very tough decision to cancel something that big. Yeah. It's actually very, very tough, and it's actually, I don't think anyone would want to do that, especially thinking that it has come such a long way, right? I don't think it's a very big cancel. It's more like you are pivoting and driving your decision making to a different product first, and then put that the next gen platform or the low cost car as a derivative from that Robotaxi. Yeah,
actually, I recall I've read on this, right, is that they started out with the Robotaxi first. Actually, this is Elon's idea. He said he wanted to do Robotaxi. It's his team that say, why not we do the low cost car as a parallel? It's like an insurance, right? For example, let's say FSD doesn't work out, then at least we have something to sell, right? But they're all right on the same platform, meaning that the manufacturing could be the same. Maybe just the difference could be just with or without steering wheel, right? I think that's what I read before. And then now it seems that they, like you say, they prioritize the Robotaxi, means that Elon again is like, okay, making the veto, using his veto power to say, no, we focus on the Robotaxi, right? Given that the FSD improvement. But I'm still feeling a bit hard to, like, given the current FSD version 12 capability, right? I still find hard to imagine that, let's say 1-2 years down the road, suddenly they can just turn out car that's without steering wheel, because you still have to go through all this regulatory approval and so on, right? So what do you think about this?
I think that let's go first to your part where they say, I think it comes from the book, right? The books, the recent book from Walter Isaacson is that actually Elon wanted to have a Robotaxi as the next car, and I think France and the other engineers, or I think France and Lars or whatever, who said that we can do it in parallel instead of focusing all on Robotaxi. Because if it doesn't work out at the timeline that we want, then we will have this gap where you are not serving the low-cost market for the growth. I think that is more accurate in the sense to say that. I think it's from the book. Right, your viewers can check it out. And then I think, the recent strategy for Elon, I think, is just that I think he's emphasizing a bit more, because as he has seen the progress from the end-to-end training, right, to using that new method to to maybe to push forward to his team to say that it looks more and more realistic that we will be doing Robotaxi more than the low-cost version. So now put your resources, or you spend more time or whatever to prioritize the production of that Robotaxi first, and then at the same time do the low-cost version for the markets that may not be accepting the FSD for the moment. I think that's what he says. And also that's to your question, is that what do I think, will it happen, or how will it be like if you are talking like 1 or 2 years? So I think what I see, firstly, I'm not the AI expert, okay, but the progress is quite visible for everyone to see, right? For a car to drive itself on the road is actually already visible. Even not just saying Tesla, other cars has also proven that it can drive on the road. The only issue now is that there are other cars that are driven by humans on the road. So there will be exceptions to the to driving on the road, because other humans may affect the way a computer behaves or the AI who behaves. So now the hurdle basically is for the FSD or for self-driving software to understand what other humans can or cannot do, to understand the context. Okay, so FSD the version 12 has shown that it has that capability to a certain extent. Okay, not fully like a human yet, but human-like. Okay, that's what some of the people who test it say. So now comes the regulatory part, which you say, comes the policy part. Will governments and will people accept that autonomous driving and whatever flaws it brings, will they accept that into their everyday life? Because we have already accepted human error. Because once, let's say you cross the road and a motorbike comes and bangs you, we accept it as, okay, we are unlucky or that person did a mistake, but there are laws to protect us, right? Because if we got banged and then we have insurance, we have we can get compensation and so on. Okay, so we know the blame, the fault goes to where, because it's already in our regulatory framework that human error is accepted. So now it is the challenge of the governments or the regulatory bodies whether or not they will accept autonomous driving plus human driving on the roads, and how to police that, how to assign blame, how to assign compensation, how to assign liability, and so on. Technically, technologically, it's already viable. It's totally doable already.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not the policies are in place to allow that to happen. Okay, because my friend was at a delivery day in Malaysia. He met the regional director, the Isabel Fan, right, from Hong Kong. She also said that the technology will be there before the policy is there. So it's just a matter of actually the policy. So maybe there are countries who may be bold enough to say that every Sunday all cars on the road must be autonomous, let's say.
Yeah.
Right? If that's the case, then we can totally see how economically positive it will bring to the society.
Yep.
Right? If there is actually a government or maybe a region or maybe a small state or whatever who thinks that can be done. So because once if you bring the human factor out of the equation, right? Actually, if not, you don't need to say FSD, even like Volvo or whatever, Honda or Waymo or whatever, they can really do it very well.
Yeah.
Because it's a very well-defined environment.
Yes.
Where human error is already out.
Yeah.
Right? So why not?
Human is always the unpredictable part. Just today, I saw one short video. They're showing people who wear like a special jacket, right? So you know, like AI, they can detect people. So that if let's say a people just walking across, right, there will be a box indicate that this is a person, right? Then there are few people there. Then the person just wearing this like their design jacket.
Yeah, it's a sweater.
Yeah, the sweater, just wear on the sweater. Suddenly, then the AI just like, oh, cannot recognize the person, but it can recognize the person on the shirts,
Yeah.
right? Like the drawing on the shirts. So I think all these things, it might confuse the AI, right? And we don't know, like all these things, right? Suddenly pop up, it will confuse the AI sometimes, and all these are the unpredictable part of of how the FSD or how all this autonomous driving can react, right?
But I mean, this is just like a horse race, right? It's just a
Yeah.
race. I mean, if someone were to find a way to find a loophole or exploit the AI, right? Then AI is actually evolving. You can see the progress, right? What is stopping the next generation to understand this context? When they see someone is wearing a shirt, or when they determine that this part of the scenery is moving like a human, then it is a human, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, I think it's just a race. It's not saying that, oh, I fool this AI and forever AI is dangerous. I don't think that should be our thinking.
Yeah, it's
because
dynamic.
everything is dynamic, right? Previously we thought that cars can only drive on lanes, but as you can see that even there's no lanes, cars can still move, right? Previously we thought robots must be in a program environment. You must define all the movements, but now you can actually train robots. So I mean, we shouldn't think that it's a fixed progress, but we should think that it's good that they found this exploit, so that in the future then we can make it more human, because we as human, we know that this is cheating. Then later maybe the AI can understand that, oh, this is actually cheating. It's not what I'm supposed to sense.
Something that they can learn, right? Okay. Just now we talked about the FSD. Can we switch gear a bit, talk about the manufacturing? Because I think the last announcement they mentioned about all this, like improvement when it comes to manufacturing. They want to manufacture car like a box, all these things, right? I know they are working on that, and that will be mostly used in the new, let's call it Robotaxi now, which they say they're going to build in Texas and not in Mexico first, right? Because they want the engineer to be at the area so that they can quickly make it work and then fine tune, and then only they roll up to maybe other cheaper locations. So have you followed any new, let's say like quite manufacturing, any development on the hardware side of manufacturing that you are observing that they are starting to roll out? Anything on this end?
No, I mean,
they're still very quiet on this.
Yes, they have been keeping under wraps. I mean, I've already left the industry for close to 9 years already, so I don't have any like close contacts or any news that you don't know lah. So what you see or what you read may even be more than what I know. So whatever, but I don't see an impossibility to it lah. At least there's no like physical law that says you cannot do this. It's just whether is it truly economical and truly revolutionary like what Tesla claims. In my feeling, it is, as shown on their, was it battery day or something like that a few years ago. The advantages are very interesting. I mean, the advantages can bring big improvements. It's just the technical aspect of implementing it, because there's definitely a reason why other people are not doing it. Okay. But the reason that Tesla is doing it is also because they see that the advantages outweighs the technical challenges. They are pushing towards that, and I think this kind of manufacturing can even be contributing a lot to their expansion globally, especially when it comes to governments who are quite unfriendly with fully imported vehicles, like Malaysia, India, Brazil, certain South American companies and countries, and so on. So these can help have them because the footprint of the factory is smaller because of this process, and also there's a current policy in some countries using the CKD process. We call this the completely knockdown process, where you ship the parts to a certain local region and you assemble at that region, and then you can bypass a few of the taxation and you get favorable incentives. So that's what a lot of countries are doing. So in Malaysia, we have Honda factory, Porsche, Audi. I think Audi don't have Honda, Toyota, all those big names where they actually assemble their best-selling vehicles in Malaysia to get very favorable tax treatments. So that will help their global expansion in the future, because Tesla currently only ships from like 3 main regions, right? China, Germany, and US. So in the future, later in Mexico, right, to serve the North American, South American market. So like what about like Southeast Asia market. They don't have a factory in Japan, they don't have a factory in Thailand, they don't have a factory in Singapore, Malaysia. So they to get these favorable tax policies, then they have to do that CKD process. So this unboxed method or the next gen platform is really suitable for this because it's literally shipping parts and then having a smaller footprint. You do not need to have a long assembly line which has a higher capex and higher labor cost. So you make it more compact, and you can build cars ad hoc at that station, so you can expand globally quicker.
The latest one is India, right? Are you bullish about these decisions, or do you think that they should pick Thailand or Malaysia?
Yeah, to be honest, I think India is not a good market to invest on.
Why? Because of infrastructure or some other reason?
It's the culture. I would say the business culture there is not really conducive. But we'll see, because Tesla has changed the Chinese minds. So maybe they will change the Indian minds. We don't know.
Yeah.
So from experience, there are quite a lot of failed ventures in India, as if you've seen the news years ago.
But that was
right?
Years ago, right? Hopefully it has changed for the better.
Hopefully it has changed. Hopefully the Mr. Modi can culturally and economically change the people, the country. Yeah. But it's a tough hill to climb. It's a tough challenge, not only for Tesla but for the country itself to change. They are quite successful in the soft skills part where IT is concerned, right? They have the ability, they have the skills. As you can see, the people from there, they have been successful in US, in China. You can see how many Indian CEOs, right? They are successful in the sense that they have the talents. It's just that the environment, right, and the people around, can they nurture this kind of ecosystem? So that remains to be seen. So far, we have not seen anything like that, because you can see like the largest companies in India is all Indian and very, let's say, in a good way, like Samsung, the quasi-monopoly kind of companies, where large companies and all controlled by one family or something like that. Hopefully they can be more open, but it's a difficult challenge. But China has done it, so who knows, maybe India sees what China is doing and then they try to emulate that. Yeah. So hopefully it brings prosperity to the investors and to the world at large.
Yeah, because they already have a model that works, right? They just need to copy. You don't even need to think totally out of the box, right? It's there already. Just follow whatever China has done in the past 10 to 20 years, right?
So yeah, but India is a democracy, and also India is more fragmented in a sense. Although China is big with so many kinds of people, but in the end, they still speak Mandarin, right? It's still a country. India, you speak so many languages for the first thing, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the mindset of the north to the south is totally different, and it's totally different culturally, economically compared to China. So remains to be seen.
Yeah. Hope this work out. Okay, any other things on Tesla that you want to share or want to cover? What's your upcoming project that you want to share? Okay.
Nothing much. I mean, Tesla is Tesla. So I think I'm more interested to actually look into more exciting companies. I sometimes read your writings on NVIDIA, on TSMC, all this, try to understand a bit and maybe put some money there as well. But I'm still very confident in Tesla, so very hard to move things around. But I do still continue, just buying whenever I can, investing not only in Tesla, just normal, boring S&P 500 ETF, which is always a good idea, right?
Let's switch gear a bit if you have a bit of time. I just want to quickly go through a couple of Slido questions. So this one need to get some help from you, because at first I saw the Slido questions asking about retiring in Malaysia and so on. I also struggle. It's like, okay, I'm thinking I may not be the best person to answer that questions, but I think hopefully you can help lah. So I will just
you ask the other Kelvin, right?
The retirement one, I asked him, but there are some other questions that I want to check with you also. And by the way, the other Kelvin also is it's a bit impromptu one, because we were waiting for
Yeah.
two more podcast members to join. We are like, hey, what are we doing here? Just two of us. I said, let's cover one episode first.
But he left Malaysia already. He's already like
Yeah.
Singaporean. So
Yeah. So actually, let's say if we come back to the same questions, right? Someone from Singapore just want to say, I want to retire in Malaysia. What will you tell the friend? Let's say if you come back to the same question, do you think this is a good idea?
I think firstly is that, is he Singaporean or is he Malaysian?
Let's say Singaporean.
Let's say he's Singaporean, born in Singapore.
Yeah, born in Singapore, local
Okay.
Singapore. Just want to look for some place, because it's not just Malaysia, right? Some people they will consider retiring in Bali, Thailand,
Yes.
Malaysia. Yeah, so this is quite common.
So I think if you want to choose Malaysia, I think it's a good place to start, especially for Singaporean, because culturally we are very similar, right? We have similar language. That's very important. Geographically, it's very near. So if you want to go back to your friends, you want to visit your parents or whatever, you can just drive to Singapore. So that's the first thing. That's the advantage, a very big advantage for Singaporeans who consider Malaysia as a retirement destination. So that's the first thing. And then secondly is that, what is your lifestyle going to be after you are retired? In Malaysia, you can live in the city, you can live in the village, you can live in a condo, you can live in the trees also if you want, right? I mean, you can, right? Because there are more trees in Malaysia than Singapore, right? That's a fact. That's definitely a fact.
Yeah.
Because of land mass. So you can choose. You have that choice. Geographically, you are not limited to high rise or limited to island life, right? So that's the second thing. So then you have to choose. Do you your expenses right? So I think if you have the ability to retire, to think that, I want to not live my hectic life or continue with my day job anymore, I want to do something else, or I want to spend more time with family, then again, Malaysia is also considered a good choice, because, like I said, we are culturally very similar. And then if you want to talk about, let's say, healthcare, if you have the means, you can have healthcare like a king. If you don't have the means, you can still have good enough healthcare, right? You have government, but of course, I think if you are Singaporean, you probably need to pay a bit more than the locals. But you still can access, right? You still can access. It's just you have to pay, but it's not as expensive as Singapore. I would definitely be sure of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, healthcare is sorted out. Then maybe activities, right? What can you do? I mean, you can do whatever in Malaysia that you can do in Singapore.
Yeah.
Even more actually, right? You can chew gum at least, right? Then but you can't. Yeah, but you don't litter right? You don't litter. And then you can drive, right? You can, if you want to go to the beach, you can drive. You can take a bus. You can own a car, relatively affordable. Public transport may be a bit difficult if you live outside of a city vicinities, but if you are in Kuala Lumpur, in Klang Valley, in Penang, I would say you still can live comfortably without a car. We have Grab, last resort, right? Grab, taxis, and then you can still get along with buses, and you just need to get used to that waiting period and the schedule and everything. But I don't see a problem with growing old in Malaysia in that sense. I think it all comes down to, firstly, the will and the money. If you have the money, I think everything can be solved in Malaysia. Recreational activities, even if you want to start something, I'm not sure about if you are a Singaporean, if you want to do a small business, they probably might have restrictions in certain areas in owning a company. You may need a local partner. Depends on what sector. But if you want to just do a small, let's say a trading company or services company, I don't see any restrictions in that sense.
Yeah.
Or if you want to get properties, you can, but of course there's a certain threshold you have to overcome. I think it's like, it depends on the region also. It's not blanket, You see different regions, some you only need like 500,000 ringgit and above to own the property. Some of them you need 1 million and so on. So it depends and it changes. So you can do that if you want.
Just now you didn't mention the food. The food definitely.
Okay, I
don't want to. Okay, let's pass.
I don't want to do that, cause a diplomatic crisis.
Yeah, always the debate lah.
Yeah, but
Friends become enemy because of that.
but I think let's not say the quality wise, but let's say the variety. I would say Malaysia has a larger variety lah because of the different races, cultures, the more diverse people in Malaysia than in Singapore. Because Singapore is although you have the main races, right, but it's still quite uniform in a sense because of the small region and small geographical proximity. So your ingredients, right, your spices are all still confined in that small island.
Yeah.
But if you come to Malaysia, I mean, if you go from the north to the south, there's already a variety of different food, Chinese, Indian, and Malay. Even in that sense, also already so much difference.
But I think one thing I observe, like Singapore will have more Chinese food, like the Chinese food.
Yeah.
And it's really authentic one from the north until the south of China. So and the people
it's coming up in Malaysia also.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh.
Recently, there are a lot of Chinese restaurants. I mean, the mainland Chinese cuisine. So you have from Beijing down to Guangzhou. I mean, we were always Cantonese and Hokkien region, right? For the past 40, 50 years. But recently, you see Henan food in Malaysia, in KL, especially in KL, Henan, Sichuan, Beijing, Shanghai, all this is also coming.
And I think this one is also because the business relationship between Malaysia and China is getting a lot better, right?
Yes,
so their businessmen travel or transit in Malaysia lah. That's why there's always demand on this cuisine.
And maybe, I don't know, my taste buds, I don't really like the spicy Sichuan kind of food. But surprisingly, in Malaysia, it's doing well among the Chinese. And also we have the Muslim Chinese opening up here in Malaysia. So the Muslim friends and the Malay friends, they also patronize those kind of outlets. So it's very vibrant.
I just tried one seafood, right? Everything looks like traditional Chinese cuisine, right? Then I didn't know it's halal until I finished the meal. Then I woke up, I was like shocked. Suddenly, so many people, and there's many Malays there. I was like, okay, this one is really halal one. Okay.
Yes.
It was quite shocked in JB in JB.
Yeah, it's also growing in Malaysia. We have halal dim sum starting up. Yeah, and then
I also tried in Kuantan.
yes. I mean, if you want to tap into the market, you have to do that.
Yeah, true.
So it's economically business sense. You definitely, if you can, right, you definitely want to, because once you go halal, is that you can capture 100% of the market, right, instead of 20 or 30%. So that is one way to go. But of course, the quality is still the same. I mean, it just depends on whether you accept or you feel that, okay, if I don't want to take pork, why not, right? It's still authentic Chinese one.
Okay, I'll close this with the last questions from Slido. I'll just read it out and then I just want to hear your comments on this. Then we close the sessions. Okay, I think this friend is asking, work in Malaysia, salary is low but office job. Work in Aussie or USA, salary is high but labor job. What do you think? Dilemmas for 20 years plus kids. And then work in Malaysia, salary just 2k RM, less expenses, can save 500 RM only. In Aussie, can save 4,000 Aussie dollar, less expenses, can save 2,000 Aussie dollar. In US, 3,300. I don't know where he got all these numbers lah, but the last sentence is that Australia and US can work as dishwasher, cleaner, fruit picker, Australia, and so on. So you hear all these comments, right? Because you also work in overseas before, you have a lot more overseas experience, right? What's your advice for the youngster on this type of dilemmas, choosing jobs?
I think that this person maybe fail to see the big picture, because why would you want to confine yourself in such a way that say that if you in Malaysia you work an office job, and then why in other countries you will work as a dishwasher? If you can work on an office job in Malaysia, why don't you work an office job in another country, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because if you think that in another country you can only be a dishwasher, then why don't then are you also confined to being a dishwasher in Malaysia?
Yeah, I think there's this feeling that maybe the degree or the not degree, maybe the educations and then not recognized by overseas. There's this feeling. I don't know how true it is. I'm just
I think
speculating.
it's actually not true. Some people will say that, oh, I'm only in Malaysia university graduate, I can't get a job in US. It's actually no, because most countries, advanced countries, they actually they don't put such an emphasis on your degree. Actually, it's more on your skills and your experience. I may not have the experience of working in Malaysia first to then go overseas, right? But I also started with graduating the pre-U in Malaysia, so I also have that start, right? But I was fortunate that I can get a degree in another country. I've also seen examples of people graduating from Malaysia and securing a job which is relevant to their degree in another country. Yeah, I mean Singapore as well. I mean you are one of the examples, right?
I studied in Malaysia, UKM.
Yes, exactly. Right? Well, why you are not a dishwasher in Singapore, isn't it? You are working in your industry in Singapore.
I wash dish at home every day.
Exactly. Unpaid some more, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good one.
Even worse, right? But I mean, as a young person, right, you shouldn't have that stigma that my whatever I have or I know now is not applied overseas. I mean, in another country, an engineer is still an engineer. You have the engineering mindset, you have the skills. In other country, may value it more. I think that is true to I think in a lot of cases. But of course, in Malaysia, you also have well-paid people, right? You definitely have in certain industries, you even better paid than the counterparts in other countries. Yeah, I have examples of that. I have a cousin who's working in the oil and gas in Malaysia. They are better paid in Malaysia than if they go to the Netherlands. The benefits are maybe a bit better there because of the regulatory and the government, but I mean, in dollar wise, right, you actually get more in Malaysia. So it's not a sense of saying that in other country you get paid more for the same kind of job. It's more that you have to, whatever you have to, like upgrade yourself in such a way that your skills are wanted everywhere, right? Because we cannot blanket say that, oh, university graduates in Malaysia earn much less than other country. That is definitely a fact, but you are taking an average, right? You have taken a median, because there will definitely, because it's called average, right? So don't be average, right? Work towards being exceptional. So once you're exceptional, right, then you have choice. People, I mean, you can choose people instead of people choose you. So you get that advantage. So I think a lot of things we cannot change. Like we are if you born or you stay in a region where there's really no jobs, you can't change that. But what you can change, you can move, right? We are not North Korea, so you can move. So you can, exactly right. No one is stopping you to move. Maybe your girlfriend, but bring her along, right? If you have the ability. Yeah. So I think start from thinking of what skills you can provide and then improving on that, and then I'm sure there are opportunities open. Right? And I think a lot of young people nowadays, they tend to compare very early in their career to other people who are already advanced in their career. So let's say you are graduating at 26, 25, right? And then you're looking at someone who is 35, 39 or whatever, who has a big house or a well-paid job. You cannot compare it that way. You don't know how he started. He may have started even worse than you. It's true. If you are really young and you just started to graduate, I mean, get a job that you are skillful in, get the experience, even in Malaysia or even in another country. Start there, build it up, and then your experience, once you've shown what you have achieved, right, there are definitely more opportunities.
Yeah.
Definitely one.
I work in a very niche kind of industry, and I work in regional team before, and I've interacted with people from all over the world. This is from China to Taiwan to Indonesia, Philippines to Europe, right? And I noticed that even in all these like a very niche area, people are very similar in ways of thinking. Like I feel that I think similarly compared to this group of colleagues who are working on the same industry, compared to someone who is like, let's say, living nearby, but then maybe in other other fields. We think differently just because our specialization is different, right? So the difference is mostly specialization or your professions and not where you come from, because ultimately in terms of knowledge, there's a standard, right? Although there will be some differences, but I think the theory, especially if you are in science or engineering area, everywhere you go, the engineering concept won't be that different, right? They all follow the same law of physics. So I do think that, I think this is mainly mindset. People who never venture out too much, they may think that, okay, I'm just sitting in one place. I don't know what's outside. People, outside countries always better. They kind of mindset. I think that need to change now. Huh?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to compare as well, I mean, I've been to Germany and it's not always like a bed of roses as well. If you want to say in that way, maybe competition in Germany is even more intense. Yeah, because of the better education system. And if you want to outshine them, and then you have the disadvantage. I have the disadvantage of the language and the culture, right? I have to assimilate. I have to try to think like them. Okay, but of course I bring to the table my values as well. All right, I bring something different that they don't have. In the grand scheme of things, you still, I mean, to progress, you still need to improve yourself. It's always, to get paid, you have to show that you have the value, because it always boils down to that one. There's no shortcut one. There's no, even if let's say you are a dishwasher, if you can wash 5 dishes an hour, you are not going to get paid well, right? If you can wash better than a machine, then you're going to get paid well. It's always just the same. It always boils down to the productivity and what value you provide.
Yeah.
You cannot just compare, you saying that, oh, I'm only 2,000 ringgit in Malaysia and I'm not valued by my employer. Okay, fine. If you are not valued by an employer, maybe the employer no eyes to see you, right?
Yes.
Then if you are not valued, then try to change.
Yep.
If you can't change your employer, then move to another job, move to another country or whatever, because it's open, right? It's not, we shouldn't, sometimes we shouldn't use the small problems to affect the big problems. Sometimes you can hear people say that Malaysia, or let's say KL, no job, everything expensive, right? And then ask, okay, why don't you move to, or let's say instead of staying in this condo which costs 2,000 ringgit per month, why don't you move maybe 20 minutes away to a half price one, right?
Yep.
But I want to wake up late. I want to walk to an office. You see, sometimes it's just a small problem, right? But you are affecting your difference in 1,000 ringgit. So why not you willing to sacrifice maybe that half hour sleep, get on a train, can listen to podcasts or read a book or whatever, and you get to your office as well. You work and you save 1,000, and the 1,000 for the extra half an hour. So that means you are like already making 1,000 ringgit for the extra half an hour in your life, right?
Yeah.
So there are sometimes just small problems that affect your big decisions. So try to change that mindset.
Yeah, always give and take. Okay, thank you so much for all your sharings on Tesla, on your experience, and helping me answer all these Slido questions. Some really need people to help me out on all this. Thank you so much. I'll end the show here. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.